Cool. And we are recording. Also, just get started with who's here, and then if others join, that's cool. If they don't join, that's also cool. So appreciate all of you guys being here. Let's start with who did their homework. We'll see if we started their homework. Let's do Vivid Vision. Do you have Vivid Vision?
Somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat.
The vision. I don't know how vivid it is.
Yeah. Let's make it vivid.
Yeah.
All right. Dan, got a Vivid Vision?
I have it still written down in my journal, and I actually started digitizing it partially, but nothing that's worth sharing. I mean, I can kind of go through the core values, culture, and mission, but the more specific stuff is written down here, so I can read it. But
let's do this. You want to set a date for yourself by which you'll have it all in a document, and you can post it on chat.
for sure.
I got a quick question, Dima. In chapter 1, Cameron Harrell's Vivid Vision is very much, well, I guess is his business mostly around him, because his Vivid Vision is very much.
He's basically got a personal consulting business. And that's why his is so personalized.
I just thought it was interesting, like, because it's a Vivid Vision not just for you but for a team. Like if you were to hand it to like your copywriter or someone, and they're reading all about his dreams and aspirations, does that align as well with something that gets them excited?
I would imagine for Cameron, well, he's probably got a very small team, but I would imagine for Cameron, the people that go to work for him are excited about Cameron.
Yeah.
We're like people who, let's say like Tony Robbins on a much larger scale, but people who are, I think people who go to work with or for Cameron, they're like, they're Cameron fans versus like the company, they're about him.
Okay.
But in other cases, it's about, like the Vision Tech Team one that I posted in there as an example is all about a larger collective team and has almost nothing to do with me and James.
I read the Evolved Enterprise one, and I was reading through it, and I liked all the graphs and everything, but I almost felt at some point like it got a little, it was like kind of confusing at times on like how it all kind of connected together, like the ecosystem and like all that. Should it be as, I mean, that was pretty complex. Obviously, you guys are doing it pretty complex.
Yeah, it's part of Yannick's deal. It's like, I mean, there's a lot of different movie pieces. He's trying to align them all. It doesn't have to be that complex at all.
Should there be a lot of visuals?
Good. I would take what you have, I would expand it a little bit so that it goes beyond that one page. And obviously, once you add graphics and make it pretty and all, it'll expand. But the biggest thing I would take from it is like taking yours and just putting it in that future present tense, if you know what I mean, like saying it is whatever date, and really getting people into that future vision as they're reading it. But I would say yours is pretty good. It doesn't have to be like this complex 5-page.
Just throw some graphics in there and just make it look good, and then post it on the website and give it to everybody, and then just work business to that goal.
Yeah, and I would ask your team for feedback as you have the draft.
All right.
So and the kind of feedback you want is have them describe how does this make you feel? Are you excited about this? Does this align with you? Does it make sense to you? Do you visualize this for yourself? Do you visualize yourself contributing to this, and how? So asking questions like that when you're asking for feedback will give you good insights that then you may want to go back and do some edits and rewriting.
Okay.
And Zion, do you have one?
No. I don't.
Do you want to commit to a certain date? You can say no. That's fine too.
He's like, no.
Yeah, not really, because
Zion, I'm committing to Sunday night to have mine done. So even if you don't commit, I'm gonna send mine to you just to shove it in your face.
You know what? That's okay, guys. I'm okay with that. You guys do all that fun stuff.
Cool.
Zion, can I ask why you're not interested?
Yeah, I'm curious as well.
It's not that I'm not interested. Um, I'm in the middle of clarifying certain things, so I don't really know. I'll be honest with you. It's like I'm not um, at a point where I really know a lot of the answers to a lot of things. So I'm still figuring them out. But I guess I can go through the exercise and see what.
The first chapter of the book for the Vivid Vision is available free on Cameron's website.
I don't.
It takes like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to read. It's worth reading.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think design. If you're not clear, then people that are working with you aren't to be clear, and it's not like you have to have total clarity right now. I know you guys are doing a lot of pivots, but the clear idea of what it doesn't have to be like the strategic plan or this exact thing of exactly where you're going, but at least even a rough vision of like this is what we plan to look like in 3 years. Will and forcing yourself to do something like that to a point where you can clarify enough to set a direction right now. Everybody that you're working with on much more of the same page.
Okay, so I guess that's a question that I have is, let's say that, so there's a lot of startups that start wanting to solve a specific kind of problem, right? And a lot of startups have a pretty good idea of where they want to be, what kind of problems they want to solve, and all that fun stuff. And then, we're very much the same in that regard. But in terms of like how it's going to be done, not as clear as I could be. So, at what point, if we're like still pivoting and changing and value propositions, whatever it is, how does that get incorporated into this whole Vivid Vision, the crafting of the Vivid Vision?
Yeah, your how does not have to be part of your vision.
Okay.
So your vision is more your why and your what.
Okay.
That does not have to be part of the vision, and to some extent the who, like what kind of team, roughly would be in place. And it doesn't have to be the exact team, but maybe the team culture. Right. It doesn't have to be the exact operational structure, but maybe the core values under which you operate, because stuff like that's not going to change that much.
So you're right. Okay, fair enough.
And then it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the exact technology with which you solve the problem, but but maybe it's the what is the thing that you're trying to do, right?
Okay, and in that case, then I can absolutely get that done. Yeah, I'll build it as more of a framework for any company that I want to run.
Yeah.
And with the end vision in mind, with the end goal in mind, and then I'll kind of do that. And then we're just basing this on Cameron's framework?
Yeah, base it on Cameron's framework, and then you may even want to, given kind of what you do, and you've had a lot of pivots in the last couple of years, but what stayed core is that you're in the center of all of it. And what you may want to do as an exercise that's a bit different is that maybe you want to do a personal Vivid Vision, which is a little bit more like Cameron's personal example, where you basically say Zion as an entrepreneur in 2020 is, and then you kind of like write out what you look like, and then what companies you're involved with, what kind of media you're getting, what it is that you're like, write out more of what your path is at that point, because that'll be relevant to what companies you're involved with, and that's a really good healthy exercise anyway.
Okay, in that case. Dan, what time are you getting yours done on Sunday?
7 p.m.
Okay.
6:55, man. Does I give you
Gotta be competitive.
Don't put a timeline on yourself like that, because you're going from scratch and Dan's going from draft.
Oh yeah.
So I would give yourself like at least a week or two, probably more. Like this isn't like it'll be difficult to do this in a sit down and one shot write the whole thing process. You want to kind of like write, let it ruminate a little bit, write again, let it ruminate a little bit. So maybe give yourself to like next Sunday or something, or longer, as a draft.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to get a V1 out there. Because if I give myself a week, it's gonna take a week. If I give myself an hour, it'll take an hour. So.
All right. Well, let's just say why don't you just put a draft up on Sunday?
Okay.
It's like a Google Doc with at least a 1-page or 2-page draft of whatever you're up to.
Does this mean post in Slack? Is that where we're putting it? Or on Facebook?
Do it in Slack for now.
Because it's the channel just for this.
Yeah, we'll bring some of this to Facebook later.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. And then, Ken, you want to set a time to post yours?
Yeah, I've got mine for 3 core companies. Just expansion marketing requires like a vision, so imagine this just requires to be fleshed out more.
Cool. You want to just post this link in the Slack chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a draft, so that way we all have each other's drafts.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, cool guys. As far as today, I mean the vision part of the vision conversation is more of like a check-in and keeping everybody accountable and getting feedback as needed. Before I move on, any further questions, or you guys want to discuss vision stuff some more?
I'm good.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm good.
So as far as the rest conversation, there's a couple of things I could definitely and want to show you guys around org charts and Team Wiki, kind of give you guys the insight of what we do around it, and see if you can pull inspiration from that. But before I go there, I want to kind of throw out a few topics and see if there's anything that jumps out at you guys that you may want to discuss, where we can facilitate discussion as a group, and then see what resources we can pull in. So conversations around some of what we talked about last time, but then evolution of that. So one thing we didn't mention as a topic last time is meetings. So meeting flow and structure and how to run really effective company meetings, whether quarterlies, weeklies, one-on-ones, stuff like that. So a lot of insights there. So throwing that out there as a possible topic. Team and organizational structure is a possible topic that I'll definitely want to cover some of today. And kind of facilitate some discussion around. And then as part of that also, so like operations, systems, SOPs, operating principles, stuff like that. Out of those, is there anything that kind of jumps out at you guys as, hey, this is exciting to jump into for discussion?
All sound good.
Yeah, I think for me, meeting structure for one-on-one.
Cool.
I like that. Yeah.
Org chart too.
Org chart too. Cool.
I prefer the last one myself, the SOPs.
Cool.
Dima, can you explain the org chart a little bit more, like what that would?
Yeah. Why don't I start
Do you
with?
want to post the? Oh, go ahead.
Can you just tell us what it is?
And I'll screen share. And then in there, I'll also jump into some of what we have for SOPs and some of what we have for meeting structures. Because all of this kind of, for us, is within one wiki, and then from there, obviously, you guys don't have to take on our format. What we did is we took Traction/EOS and then modified it as needed to our company. So you kind of get to see a real-life example of this that's been written really well systematically, and then you can see what might be relevant for you from there.
Okay. I have a really hard time, and maybe I'm not the only one, but I have a hard time, like, not creating this stuff. Creating it's easy, but actually sticking to it, like, during the day-to-day operations. Like, I feel like I can put it together, but when I get busy, I'm just like, oh, I'll just do something else or make it faster or whatever it is.
Yeah,
That's tough.
In those times, do you kind of track what it is that you shortcut in your process?
What cuts into the process?
Yeah, what like when you have SOPs that you created,
Yeah.
that you create, and then you're like, screw it, I'm gonna go around this. Have you tracked roughly what it is that you're like flipping or going around or doing in your own way that's outside of the process?
Usually it's just a time thing where I'm just like, well, I don't have the time to do this. I'll just do it later, and then I'll just make a note to do it later, and then later never comes. But I think if I wasn't personally doing it, and maybe if I was enforcing it upon someone else or a team member to do it, it might be a little bit more effective for me because I'd expect more out of them. Where maybe I would just cheat it myself.
Yeah.
Because I can, and
So
I can still pull it off.
Yeah, so there's two answers to this. One is that to track what you're doing when you're skipping your processes, because there may be just something more efficient that you can add in your process to be more efficient if you're doing something because you're like, oh, this is faster than the actual process. So there may be. Two is that you're playing two separate roles. You're talking about playing the operator of your business, or you're talking about being the owner who's creating the SOPs,
Yeah.
right, the executive, and then you're also talking about being the employee who's following the SOPs.
Right.
And what you're saying is that as your own employee, you're not following all that. Which is, I'll be the first to say I'm terrible at following our SOPs.
Mm-hmm.
But we have them all in place, and the team follows them for the most part. And I'm pretty drawn about the team following our SOPs. And I'm kind of like this black sheep that can't fit into structures properly.
Right.
So and it seems to work pretty well. Now I try to do my best so that I don't screw with team morale. But for the most part, like I think that's okay for the entrepreneur not to follow every SOP that they have within their own business, because the SOPs are more so for the structure of the team.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think and whenever I follow them, and then a team member knows that I'm following them, I make sure I follow them just to set a good example. But like behind closed doors, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna do this because I know it'll get done, and I'm not gonna fill out the checklist because I know I did it myself. Like, so I just didn't know what the I guess regulations are a good rule to follow on that is, but that makes sense.
I have to say, since our last call, I've replaced 2 members of staff, and if I didn't have SOPs, that would have been a fucking ball ache. The freedom of just being able to switch out and just be like, here are all the documents you need to read.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had my new Facebook guy, and I mean for Facebook, it's less about SOPs, but more about like the ongoing reporting we've built. And I spent about an hour writing a document, 1,500 words, just laying everything out, and I was like, there you go, that's everything. But because I already had it in place, everything, like even like the documents with all the naming conventions, the links, the UTM parameter builders, everything, the marketing funnels all mapped out. It was literally a case of just going, there you go.
Right.
And it takes seconds to, like, I update a new funnel, I just write it in, it takes seconds. But if I don't have that, like one of the pages I'd not kept up to date with, because I didn't have that, like my Facebook guy started setting up the pixel again, and a load of this shit was wrong because I hadn't updated it. It was just one page. It makes it so much harder.
Right.
And the great thing about it is you don't have to be the one to make it. Like my old assistant wrote half of the SOPs for his job, so that when he left, I just went to the new guy. I was like, "Here's everything," and he's up to speed like within 3 days.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be such a shit process to move from one VA to the other because they know everything, but it wasn't. It was easy.
It's a good idea. Just have the person filling that role basically just write their job description or the SAPs for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe in that as well. I don't think I've ever written a single SOP, and I don't think James has either.
What's it? Michael O'Donnell, he's interesting about his SOPs is that he comes up with all kinds of shit and he films like a video on it and then he writes it all out himself. And I think that's not the best use of his time.
Oh, I think that's definitely not the best use of the time.
Like he'd be better off getting someone else to like just take the video and work it out, make a PDF. But he wants to have such control over it. Like he feels like once he's done it once and he's done it properly, he can hand it off and it's not an issue anymore. So he spends a lot of time creating this stuff and it's work for him.
Yeah, and he's also a bit more, he's a bit more like that. Like he seems to enjoy doing that stuff.
Yeah.
He has a lot of fun doing it, so it doesn't really bother him.
Yeah, most of us aren't like that. But yeah, I think having you do the video is useful because it's probably like it's a 5-minute thing where you're just screen sharing on what you do, which is usually fine, and then just having somebody else write it up, and then maybe you just approve the final. Cool. So I'll kind of go into this, and then we're gonna do a lot of stuff from this wiki, and I'll just kind of show you guys examples, and then we'll use those as starting points for conversations. So this is something we built as a custom WordPress site. You can do this on like Google Sites. You can do this in Google Docs. just keep a simple, just make it a simple wiki. But it basically, and there's specific sites that allow you to build operational processes and wikis as well. But the idea is that you have everything for your team, ideally behind a login, but really everything for your team in one place, and all of the resources in one place, so they're not like searching and scrambling for various documents and processes and logins and details. So this is kind of keeps everything all together. So within here, I'll start with probably the simplest thing, which is our organizational chart, if I can find it. Allie may have to point me to things. So this is again based on traction, and we've created this where we have basically the idea of like who's accountable to who in what role, and everybody on the team has somebody that they're accountable to, and then there's a clear kind of organizational accountability structure, and then every person has a description of what they do and what they're responsible for. So and different people can still, like, we have obviously a unique case where we have 20 plus people, and some people sit also in different seats. For example, Mike is our creative director, but he's also a project manager. So he has 2 separate job descriptions for each of them. Same in my deal. I'm sales and marketing. I also sit in the visionary seat. So this is again all based on EOS, and then we click here and we have.
And what did you use to create this?
Allie, do you know the name of this tool? Or you can
No, I can get it from Austin if you want.
Yeah, if you could just post a link to it in the chat when you get it.
Is that just embedded with an iframe?
Yep. Yeah, we go a little hardcore, but we're a tech company, so yeah, like I said, you can do most of this stuff in just like a Google Docs folder and just organize a folder structure or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have for each role, their key description, main responsibilities. Some are more detailed than others.
What's in the characteristics section, just out of curiosity?
Most important characteristics of
Oh, I see. Okay.
To successfully do this role. So that helped at the time when we were putting together job descriptions, and some of these have evolved a lot, and we haven't totally updated all of the management roles. But basically this allows us to have so imagine somebody going in to buy our company. Even though we're a services agency, if somebody goes in and they see all of this structure, they also see pieces that can be replicated. They see pieces that can be swapped, like team members, if needed, could be to some extent swapped out and trained better based on having a lot of this stuff in place. You don't have to have it, in a ton of detail, but having some sort of, once your organization grows past like 4 or 5, I think it's really important to have some sort of a structure in place, especially if you want to eventually replace yourself in the various roles. And the way that you want to do initial org chart or accountability chart, so you want to kind of do 2 versions. One is what is present day reality, just to give you an idea of where you're at. But the more important one is to fulfill my vision for this company, what does my org chart have to look like? And that'll give you the strategic thought of, okay, I have to have this role, this role, this role, these seats filled, without thinking about who's in your current team, right? So do it as a blank slate, and then you take in your current team, and you see who can fit into what role based on what your ideal structure is, and then you see where the gaps are. So you see either who you have to recruit, hire, train, what things you may have to automate or eliminate, so on and so forth, and you have an idea of your roadmap in terms of team building for the next 6 months or year or 2 years or whatever it might be. Does that make sense as an exercise? As far as building,
Yeah.
Present and then future, and then figure out how to bridge the gap.
It's interesting. How many of us have all roads leading to one person? Because I do.
I think most, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in a way, all roads do lead to one person, which is your CEO slash integrator. But they shouldn't always lead directly to one person, and that depends on your leader. So if you have like everybody here, and then everybody reports to just you, you'll be able to manage that to a certain extent. Once you get to about 6 people, according to Rockefeller Habits, one manager can manage 6 or 7 individuals pretty successfully. Once it grows beyond that, you start to lose effective leadership capacity. And the other thing is, once you're at a point where you've got, let's say, 5 or 6 direct reports, now a significant part of your personal brain bandwidth is used to lead and manage those reports, rather than do some of the other roles in your business. So if once you get to a point where you have 5 or 6 reports, if you can take some of them and start having them report to each other, and then have less direct reports that you're personally responsible for, you free up a lot of bandwidth for yourself, and you start to delegate leadership, which is an important, not just like, hey, it's important right now because it gives you leverage, but it's important in the long term. If you look out in your entrepreneurial career 2, 3, 4 years from now, you want to be at a point where, right, you know how to build up leaders and managers, not just build up staff that do stuff for you. Otherwise, you're always going to be in a management position working on stuff, which you probably don't want. So I guess back to Josh's question for everybody here. Do you guys have any indirect reports, like somebody that reports to somebody else that ultimately reports to you?
I used to have Guillaume doesn't do consulting anymore, but I used to have him running the ads, and then people will report him. And I have to say, I much prefer going direct, because then they answer to me. They don't answer to someone else, which gets diluted, and then answer to me. You know, it's like I fired one of the guys who worked for him. The other guy might not be around too long either, because now I'm in charge, and also I'm not paying a monthly fee. I'm paying an hourly fee, which is a big difference actually. The work I get, I'm going to tangent here, but the work that I get, I would say, is much better when I pay an hourly fee, because depending on the project, but for advertising, if they want to earn $1,000 a month and they earn $50 an hour, they have to work 20 hours. They have to keep focusing 20 hours. So if I pay someone $1,000 a month, and the first 2 months might be like loads of setup, like starting new campaigns, but then more and more as time goes on, they're just tweaking, they're just maintaining, and they're not doing everything they could possibly do to grow. And because of that they're effectively doing less for the same money. I want them to keep constantly looking for more and more ways to grow, which is why I like switching to an hourly rate. But to go back to the point I was saying was, I thought I liked having like it off somewhere else, but looking at the way it's grown and sort of how it's developed and it's become less profitable, and we're not performing as well as we should be, I don't like having a distance from it. I want to be in there looking, reporting every day, saying, look, there's a dip. This started 7 days ago. What happened here? You know, stuff like that. So
I think that's important to notice, depending, and it will largely depend on your structure of in-house versus outsourced. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's one factor, and then other factor is also like where you're at now and what you enjoy doing versus other areas that you may enjoy less. So like maybe for advertising, you're really like, cool, I want to manage this for the next year or two. So, and maybe for another part of your business, you're like, maybe for product creation, you won't love it as much, and you'll want somebody that's more in charge of that as a department. Maybe that's not the case, right? Maybe you'll love running each piece. But I think it's just important to keep awareness of that stuff for yourself. And even like what may be true now may not be true a year from now. So looking at it like, okay, cool, right now I love managing, 3 separate people that are running my ads, and maybe a year from now I'll want somebody in charge of that, so that if you know that now, then maybe what you can start doing is start to write the piece of the role that you have in managing these advertisers successfully, and start to get really good clarity on that, so that a year from now you can easily replace yourself in that role.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. There's a big difference between a consulting firm and someone who works for you directly.
So last time we talked about potentially you potentially eventually having like a CMO or marketing manager or director or something like that starts doing all this stuff for you. And let's say you have that role hired. Let's just theoretically say 6 months from now. Maybe that person starts managing your advertising as well as a bunch of other stuff. You're working directly with that person on weekly or daily meetings or whatever it is, and then you say, hey, I noticed there's a dip here. What's going on? And it's his responsibility to take a certain time gap to go fix that dip or fix the performance or whatever. And he knows it's his responsibility. Ideally, even before you notice that dip, he's noticed that dip before you would have even noticed it while you're traveling. And he's gone in there and already done it. And then he goes back to you and say, hey, we had this issue, and I fixed it. Or he goes back to you and say, hey, we have this issue. Can we do some creative brainstorming on how to solve this problem?
Yeah, I certainly I'm keeping my eye out for someone to replace my job. And that's something, going back to the vivid vision, something that I realized, this whole thinking 3 years ahead. I don't, like, if we like put vivid vision aside and think about, okay, what do you actually think about yourself and your business? If you'd asked me, like, a few weeks ago before I was reading it, I would have said, I don't plan on working on this in 3 years' time. And that's still the case, but it's kind of weird to think about a vision where I'm not in it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Think about a vision where you're not in it. I think it can be empowering, or you can write it in a way where you're in it, but in a fun advisory role, but not in a day-to-day management role.
I mean,
for what's being built, not necessarily for you at the epicenter of it.
I guess my version of not in it would be someone else taking my job and me doing, like, every couple of days checking in and getting a paycheck or whatever.
Yeah.
Dima, I got a question. I'm sure this varies for everybody, but just kind of going with what Josh was talking about. How long is just like an average time to replace yourself in a company? Like, how long should that take? I'm sure it's different for everybody, but
yeah, it's super different for everybody. And there's also like, it's not like I don't look at it as like you replace yourself. It's not like this A to B path. There's a lot of different components of replacing yourself in different roles, which is where the chart, doing org chart, helps a lot, because you may notice that you have this organizational chart based on traction where you have operations seat, finance seat, and sales and marketing seat. And maybe you sit in all three of them, and you sit in the CEO seat, and then somebody's helping you in different parts with those roles. So maybe you say, okay, I want to replace myself in the finance and admin seat. So you start to replace yourself in that. Cool, you just freed up 30% of your time.
right.
And maybe next you say, cool, I want to free up my operations and client fulfillment side. So you start to replace yourself in that role. You get somebody in there, whether it's a current team member or somebody else. And now you're saying, cool, I sit in the CEO and sales and marketing seat, and you can say, I can sit here for the next 2 years and I'll be happy. And then you don't have to replace yourself in that piece. So I think it's important to kind of compartmentalize what roles you're playing in the business, and then start to replace yourself first in the things that you're either not best at or don't, you're not adding the most value to, or you just don't want to be doing.
Right.
But you don't have to ever replace yourself fully in your business if you don't want.
I personally would like to.
Yeah.
Totally.
Something that's interesting, if I could just chime in on that, is that since thinking more about how I want to replace myself, when I've hired new people for new jobs, and this is probably more true in your case, I'm thinking, could this person take on more roles? So like this Facebook guy I've hired, I see he has like email marketing and SEO listed. I'm like, okay, I could outsource more of me. So the more I'm hiring, I'm thinking, like, could this guy? I don't know nearly anything about him yet, but he could potentially have the ability to take over a lot of my job later on. But it's something that I looked for, and something that definitely stood out while I was doing the interview process.
Yeah,
was that kind of person.
I totally agree with you. I actually, and speaking of that, I just started an admin yesterday. Literally, it was her first day. And when I was going over with things, I basically told her, I was like, I want this to eventually lead into like a general manager position where you're learning all these roles and all these tasks and basically how to run the company. And that's kind of like the next level of that job. And so that's, I see that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to, like, even if you just open your eyes up to who you already have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually when I'm hiring, I have the same mentality, and it's also good to sell the vision of what kind of potential you see in that person for how they can grow inside your company, right? Because
Right.
if they are only capable of doing one thing, I mean that's good, but if they do that exceptionally well, but you eventually want that person to almost, like, for me anyways, I want that person in their own role, right? So they can get someone else in there so they can take on more. And if I don't think that they have the capacity to do that, then depending on how long I think they're going to be with me, if they're only going to be with me for a few months, I don't really care. But
Hmm.
if I want someone that I'm really hiring full term, long term, then I always think about how keep on giving them things off my plate.
Two things that came up for me is that when we get in this mode of replacing ourselves, I've found that it's a very fine line between finding somebody who can grow within the company, and the other extreme of that is finding someone who's too entrepreneurial. Because at least in my case, the tendency has been, once I go in replacing mode, is like, oh, this person could take over all of this and they could run all this stuff. And just bringing awareness to the fine line between finding someone who can grow in the company and finding someone who can, yes, take over all that, but is maybe too entrepreneurial than you may like. And
Why would you not like that? Because you think they won't want the job, or you think they'll take it away from you, or something else?
it's just that entrepreneurs will, are the type of mentality that's not going to be happy until they're running their own business. And what I've encountered too is that people who have a certain type of range of skill sets, especially in the virtual sense, will take on certain types of people will take on many different projects. So they may be working for you, but then they've got their, and I'm just saying this from experience. I encountered this with a few people. Person A had a consulting practice, 10 hours a week, or kind of would do her own deal for a couple hours a week. And I thought that was cool in the beginning, but as I dove into it, I realized that that wasn't who I wanted, that entrepreneur, like Evan Pagan talks about, and instead wanted a shade different, which was somebody who was very much an employee, yet very much a leader and growing within the company.
Yeah, I have some. So this is an awesome thing because I've had a lot of thoughts on this too, which have been kind of somewhat contrasting, but really like in line with the idea of like we don't want to hire entrepreneurs, but it is really possible to hire entrepreneurial people, if I think if you have a big vision that compels them more than what they could do on their own. So this is something that's worked really well, and this is where Vivid Vision plays in, because if they see that you have a vision of where you're going that they can fit into, that's a better expression of their own talents than something that they built from the ground up. And if they're the type of person that's not extreme on the entrepreneurship scale, but they're somewhere on that scale of like being entrepreneurial, they can fit really well as a leader into an organization of growing a department, growing a division of your company, whatever it might be. And they might be happier doing that than building their own thing. So perfect example is, and this is how we're building Evolved Enterprise, which is different from how we build Vision Tech Team. Vision Tech Team is all employees. None of these people want to run their own business. Jonathan, our CTO, we're giving an equity stake in a new software company we're starting, but he's made it very clear. He goes, I thought about going off and doing my own thing. I could make more money. He goes, but I don't want to. I want to be part of this team. And it's pretty much like that with everybody on Vision Tech Team. James and I are the entrepreneurs there. And then Ali is entrepreneurial, but it gets into this larger vision. Maybe
an entrepreneur.
Right. Entrepreneur is a really good word for this. But with Evolved Enterprise, it's been quite different, and with Maverick overall. So even with Maverick, when Yannick first showed me his vision when I was 23, I was like, holy shit, this fits better into my life purpose path than just building my own thing. And I want to go join you and figure out what we can do together. And that eventually led to different forms of partnerships. With Mike, when we hired our CMO, very entrepreneurial guy, has run his own business before, has worked for others before in an entrepreneurial capacity, and he just basically wanted a really big vision that he could be a part of, that he could build something within. We hired a copywriter that's now basically running a ton of our marketing. Same deal. Eventually wants to run his own business, but is happy to fulfill or scratch that itch within our structure. And now we have an apprentice program where we've got like 80 plus applications. We'll hopefully get half a dozen great apprentices out of it. A lot of these guys, again, being entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial backgrounds, but want to be part of this larger game. So they're willing to maybe sacrifice some of their own entrepreneurial path in being part of this larger game while still scratching that itch of like, I want to do something unique and significant and build something that they feel like they have ownership in, or maybe they do have some ownership in, as an executive with it.
Mm-hmm. Other than just the vivid vision, and maybe the vivid vision is the best way to do this, but how do you, inspire and instill that sort of like buy-in and that drive of want to from the people who are working for you to buy into your system? Like, how, other than the vision, how do you inspire them to?
Yeah, so the
crush
vision
that with you?
Part of it, and it's not just the vivid vision is just the tool. Let's say the document that's an expression of that. I would say what's been most compelling is like showing that you're playing a larger game and showing how that game fits into what they're doing with their lives.
Okay,
so part of it is inquiry too.
Okay.
Yeah, so finding out, like inquiring and finding out what people's dreams are. So we do this even with
like
the
bucket list. Like, what's on your bucket list, and then just
what's on your bucket list? What do you want? What do you want from your life? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? We've literally done this with every single person, even on our Philippines team, that are just developers on salary that will maybe see at most once a year, if that. And we've done this exercise with them where we've had them journal out, what do you want out of your life? And then we go back and say, how can this person being part of our team help fulfill on some of their dreams? Now you do that, all of a sudden your people have an incredible amount of buy-in because they trust that you're on their team as much as they're on your team.
I feel like I've asked those questions before, and sometimes I don't get honesty. I just get out of them what they think I want to hear.
Have you ever given that feedback?
Can I chime in here?
Yeah.
So when it comes to what people want to do, you're really going to be the best gauge, and if you feel that people are giving the honest answer, then they probably aren't, right? And if they're telling you things that you want to hear, instead of it authentically coming from a space of like that's actually what they want, and you can tell, that's what they're truly passionate about, and then if they're not doing that, then you should just weed them out right off the bat, right? Because the whole point of the exercise of trying to tie your larger vision to where they fit into it is because you already want that person in, and now you're just trying to sell them on it, right?
Right.
So one thing that I think that I've had a lot of success with is, just exactly what Dima said. We just sit down, we have a conversation, and I just ask them, it's like, hey, what are you looking to do, right? Like so let's say I'm talking to someone that's about to graduate, for example. I ask them, hey, what are you trying to do when you graduate? Okay, great. So you want to start a company one day, you want to do this? Well, that's, if we end up working X amount of time, that's great, whatever, but here's what we're doing. This is where I see that you fit, and these are the things that I think can really help build those skills that you need in order to do that. Mm-hmm. And then you get to a point where, like, if you're selling them on the vision and you don't see, like,
that they're about totally buying.
Steve Jobs calls it, Steve Jobs calls it like the twinkle in their eye, right?
Yeah.
If you don't see them completely just immersed in the conversation, completely present, and just in awe of you as a person, as a leader, and separately as your vision, then they're just not the right person. Because no matter what, because I've hired someone that was like just nodded their head, yes, 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 and I was like, oh yeah, this person totally gets it, and I hired them, and I was like, man. Like, she just literally just, was like, oh, yeah, like, I'm all about that. That's super cool.
Right.
So.
But didn't really genuinely mean it.
Yeah, an item on that, too, that's been really helpful in my experience.
No, not at all.
Is the, Allie, what you shared with the bi-weekly payroll check. And so, like, really having multiple touch points in place to really encourage me. And then as a leader, having many times where, you know, you ask them for their real feedback and get their real truth, and then don't react, you know, negatively to that, so that they feel like, okay, I can actually safely share my truth with you. Because I think it's easy for all of us to forget, at least it is for me, that there's such a strong fear in that, most likely in them, even at an unconscious level, because, you know, maybe there's a thought of, what if I tell Michael the truth and he doesn't like it, and then he fucking fires me, and then I'm done, and then I have to go to my husband, or I have to go to my wife and tell my kids that I don't have a job.
Right.
So it's like, that's a very real fear. That's, even though everything might be, you know, exciting and fluffy and nice, that undercurrent fear is usually present at some level with people, and it's important to sense into that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just feel
So
like
I watched that on day one.
yeah. I feel like I just need to get better at, you know, really inspiring and leading, you know, my people in like a genuine way. Like, I know like there's these systems and these processes, but like, you know, in a way it's genuine, but, you know, it's still an automated document that gets sent to them before payroll. You know what I mean? Like, and it's still kind of like, you know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but there's still not that as much of that personal level there. But maybe I'm just overthinking it, and I just got to get down and a little bit more in tune with my team. But
So it's both. The document helps you systemize the human piece, right? Like there's the document helps you get structured feedback, but then what you do with that structured feedback, that's up to you as a leader.
yeah,
You could ignore it. You could read it and never tell them you read it. You could read it and never bring it up, or you could read it and go to them that following Monday morning. Hey, I noticed in your thing, you know, you said that it would make you happier at work if we did X, Y, Z. Can we have a quick chat about that? I'd love to see what I can support with around that.
yeah,
Or I'd love to say that, hey, I totally hear you. I appreciate you saying this. This is why we can't do this right now. But I would love to do it at some point in the future, and I really appreciate the suggestion. Right? That's the human piece that you do as a leader.
okay,
And the systematic piece is what gives you the information, the structure to be able to.
And I don't know how big your team is, Michael, but like something like even with Vision Tech team, like the team's just too big where like we don't have time to do like weekly hour-long calls with everyone. So the whole idea of that structure is I get to look at a spreadsheet and go, okay, we have 25 employees, and this one employee, their happiness is decreasing every payroll. Why? And then I'll end up having a call with them, or maybe James and Dima do, and then we end up figuring out what's actually going on rather than doing that with each individual employee when maybe more than half of our employees are super happy.
that's a good point. That's a very good point, because you can just look at that data and then have the sit-down meeting with them, rather than like every week you're having a meeting with 25 people. It's just not going to work.
Right. So like last month I had 2 calls with 2 employees because their happiness levels and their stress levels were just like getting out of control consistently, and then we resolved it through that call.
Do you find yourself dealing with more, that's probably a mixed answer, but usually is it more what the team is doing to the person, are more their happiness levels like business related, or, you know, obviously life related too, or what do you see, like how do you?
All over the place.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like we've had employees
kind
where
of
it's like
come
all
glorify-
personal, and then that affects their business. We've had it be business, and that's like obviously affecting their happiness, or vice versa.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
HR issues.
Hey, Michael, one thing that I'll also kind of contribute is that if you consciously humanize yourself in front of your employees, then they'll have more of a comfort level with coming to you with problems and kind of voicing things without you having to kind of just read between the lines and you know and try and recognize subtle patterns. So if there are multiple ways you can do that, but just in my experience, it's easiest to come across like that in terms of like at your next meeting. If you know that there's like a general level of frustration, just call it out and be like, let's just have a conversation about this, and everybody voice your concerns or your thoughts, or even in passing one-on-one with people. Just the tone of the conversation. If it's more geared towards humanizing you and putting yourself in the position of the accessible leader, then you then open the door for them to come to you rather than trying to, like I said, read between the lines or read the stars and the signs and so on that are a lot more difficult to catch on to.
Yeah. I like that. Humanize myself a little bit more. It's good.
Yeah.
Michael, I'd be happy to spend some time with you if you want, just to kind of like hear how you're talking to people. Like, I'm happy to like play the employee and see what you're saying to me.
All right, I'll honestly probably take you up on that. That'd be fun because usually I take that to my fiance, and she's usually the one that I'm like, yo, what did I say? So it'd be good to kind of have I might have to do that with him and Marco.
Because a lot of sorry.
I was just saying Zion is really good at that, and the employee communication side of things, human communication in general. So I think you'll get a lot out of that.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. Thank you for offering that, Zion. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think we can kind of get to the bottom of it fairly quickly based on what I'm hearing. I just had this conversation with, I don't know if you guys know, but I have a bunch of dudes living with me for the summer. I'm kind of like mentor and all that fun stuff. And Josh was nice enough to hop on a call with them and share some of his insights in his story, and they were quite inspired by him. And we are working on a startup that we're heavily documenting. And I had a conversation with them today because I already felt like we were getting to a point where they were scared to approach me on certain things. And I sensed it, right? So, every morning we've actually, just to keep up the level of intensity that I want, every morning we have a physical stand-up. And in that, I realized, based on the answers that I heard, that it was worth having that conversation just right then and there, just to kind of get it out of the way. Because if you've identified something and you let it persist, it's just going to hurt you longer. And sometimes you don't need to create a scheduled time to do it. Sometimes it's just better to do it in the moment. And I just sat them down and I said, hey guys, if this is something that's clearly taking on legs of its own, we're having a lot of fun, we're doing a lot of things, and there's a difference between being an employee and being someone that can really take the lead and move forward with it, right? Because now I'm framing it in the mind where they are aspiring to be a different type of person. I'm giving them a choice, right? It's kind of like where you are now versus where you want to be, and I'm setting that tone for them so that, because I'm speaking to what their highest intrinsic motivation is, because I already know that from the conversations I've had. And I also basically, did a kind of like an ultimatum of, look, let me know by the end of the day, because not everyone's cut out for this.
Right.
But if you are, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to keep on investing the time. And, we also got to a point where it's like, hey guys, based on where we are now, tell me why I need you, right? And I didn't ask that from a threatening position, but rather just to see what their answers were, is that they're like, well, you don't really need me. You really need us, right? And I said, no, that's not true, because what you guys have been able to get done in the last month and a half is, quite remarkable. And what makes you guys you is only you, and I'm not going to find that from someone else.
Right.
That's kind of like that humanizing element of it. I kind of played to like their egos and their motivations and everything. And then out of that, I kind of lit a fire under their ass. Motivation, some people really do need it quite more often than others, right? I mean, that's why we all have daily rituals, is to remind ourselves what we're doing and to make sure we're kind of getting in that right mindset.
That was good. You dropped some good points there for me. I'm gonna take the recording and go back and listen to you share on that.
Hey guys, we got about 20 minutes. I want to jump into some other topics, unless there's anything you think I couldn't say.
Yeah, just final item that I found really useful is on piggybacking on Zion's deal, is let your team members know that you need them. And I had a conversation with my team, and it really just turned the corner where I was like, guys, he's like, dude, I need you. Like, the things that you're getting done, and you're a huge part of this piece, and it's like, they need to hear that, especially motivation-wise, especially if they're having a tough day. They got to feel needed, and they got to feel like they can grow.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's yeah.
Yeah, James, James used to say.
Yeah, 1,000% agree.
Yeah, James used to have a motto: "Everybody's replaceable." But now it's like
that we had to work through that one though with him.
A lot of people say that though. I mean, a lot of like business books or audio things that I've heard is like, one employee's not going to ruin your company, two employees not going to ruin your company. So that's
yes. So you want to be able to fire people. You want to be able to let go.
right.
If you're choosing to keep people, you want to make them feel super valued and valuable, and that their commitment and their time to your organization matters.
Yeah.
And the minute you choose not to keep that person, yeah, they're replaceable. Fire them, right, as quickly as possible, and then replace them because they're a cancer. They shouldn't be there.
Right.
So, okay, I'm going to jump into a few other things. This is awesome, and I'm always happy to, like, even whether in the Slack chat or in the Facebook group, keep the conversation going on organizational structure, hiring, firing, management, leadership. All this stuff is like this is one of my biggest passions. It sounds like for a lot of us, we have a lot of unique experiences in this.
Yeah.
Cool. Who here has a on the note of like processes and systems to keep a pulse on things? Who here has a scorecard for their business?
I have a scorecard that I use.
Cool.
So can you define what a scorecard is again?
A scorecard basically gives you the top metric for your business that you check on a weekly basis to measure the health of the company.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I actually set mine up.
Yes, if you were on stuck on a desert island for the next couple of months,
yeah,
and you only got to see one document, spreadsheet with a set of, let's say, 8 to 10 numbers on that spreadsheet to see the health of your company, both where it is and where it's going. Those are the 8 numbers or 10 numbers or whatever that you'd want on that scorecard.
Okay.
And
so like an example of some numbers at least. So like I made one for Maverick now that I'm helping out with the internals of that, and so we have like half of the numbers are finances, and then the other half are all around the members. So like new members, cancellations, stuff like that. How many are signed up for which event?
Yeah, actually, I'm
tracking it weekly.
I pretty much have that same exact scorecard for my business that I use, and I just took it all from Traction actually when I read it and just threw it together. I thought it was really I actually had a call with an EOS implementer from Traction after I read the book, and so I just called and did like the free hour call or whatever. And the first thing he recommended was, before you set up anything else from Traction, he was like, do your scorecard and just start tracking that.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we see some examples maybe?
So I'll show you guys some examples on screen share. One is I'll show you last year's numbers, 2015, for privacy and confidentiality sake. I don't care if you guys see, but this is being recorded.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to interrupt real quick. I got to head off. I got another meeting I got to get to, but thank you. Keep it rocking. I'm definitely going to watch this replay, so thank you guys.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Michael. Awesome, participation. Cool. So I'll show you guys ours from I'll show you guys our 2015 one again, just to keep this year's numbers confidential enough. Let's see. Jump back to 2015 real quick. Yes, perfect. So example of what we track. And ours is more financial with Vision Tech Team, and then we've got another piece of this that I'll show you guys that tracks client happiness. So we track cash balance, monthly cash average, debt, accounts receivable. So basically, these are all financial metrics that give us an idea of exactly where we're at. So this is like our financial report, and we track it week to week to week. And then obviously, if we want, we can put this thing into a graph anytime. Then we've got operational metrics. It's kind of like the second half of our scorecard, so we're a bit unique. We have a client business. So this is where we track client happiness, basically, or like how on track a project is. This is more subjective, based on the
project manager. Did he freeze?
Dima. Everyone's dropped. It's me, Dan, you. It's just you and me, baby.
I'm like, wait, am I frozen or is everyone else frozen?
No, we're still together. Let's talk shit about them.
Just us.
I can't stand Zion. He's so annoying.
Okay.
Don't get me started on Michael Mathis. I have dinner in 15 minutes. I have to go soon.
What time is it for you? 7?
8:11 p.m.
Well.
You know, I'm so stressed at the moment.
You're what? Stressed?
I'm so stressed.
Wait, so what happens to the recording?
That's a good question. I think it carries on recording,
Well,
I think.
now it really is just us.
It carries on recording because it's like Google records it. And now that everyone knows that I can't stand Michael Mathis, Zion, Dan can go away, Chris is horrible.
And you're stressed out.
Fuck a lot of them. I'm stressed out. Work is hard. Hey, McCann. Sebastian. I'm trying to message.
You guys are back. Kind of.
What's up, guys? Sorry about that. lost Wi-Fi there for a minute.
I'm like, I guess me and Josh can continue the call.
Yeah. We're talking about skin. You know what? Actually, let's not get this recorded. We don't need that. I was texting my sister about skincare earlier. I was like, #manpoints. Isn't it better though? It's so much better.
So
right.
Our scorecard for Evolved Enterprise, which is probably a lot more relevant to you guys, especially for public. So things we measure, like there's some of the financial things we measure. Our key thing, our main impact metric is how many books we sold that week. Then we have our Facebook data. We have a more detailed Facebook spreadsheet that we dive into, but Facebook summary is kind of like total gross revenue, average order value, ad spend. Same thing for YouTube and AdWords. As you can see, beginning of the year, these are all blank. We started doing more with that later on, and same deal with affiliate. And so this is actually more detailed than you probably want on a standard like overview scorecard. But this is right now at our stage what's been really helpful for us to be able to run the company. And then funnel metrics and conversion rates. So these are just key things that we track that kind of give us an idea of what average health of how things are performing.
Would you be able to put in some like dummy data and share the template just so we can see it?
Yeah. Ali, just make a note for me to do that.
If I can chime in, I'm working like stupendously hard on a bunch of spreadsheets at the moment. This is I've kind of got a few that contribute towards this kind of data, and I'm planning when I've kind of finished with like 3 of them to share them all with the group and make a video on how they work and give you all dummy data because they're fucking good.
Awesome.
Yeah, but that's
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'd definitely love that.
I'm wondering, do you have any key points on like? Because I'm thinking, what are my key items? Maybe my business is a little bit different or a little more chilled out.
Yeah. So what makes your business successful?
The leads that we generate.
That's probably something to track. Maybe on a per site basis or big picture.
Yeah.
What else makes your business?
Because we could like do that, but it doesn't.
What's a and there's also important things like KPIs have like lagging indicators and leading indicators. Do you guys know what the difference between those are? So a lagging indicator. So the Vision Tech Team scorecard is actually a pretty poor scorecard in terms of lagging versus leading indicators. But it works for us because of how our business works. A lagging indicator is usually, like a financial number is usually a lagging indicator. By the time it shows up, it's a track of something that has been happening.
Yeah.
Right? So like revenue is not showing you how your business is going to be doing. Because it's not, there's no predictability there. It's showing like this is right now the health of the company, and it's usually based on something that happened over the past month or two, or week or two. So lagging indicator is like showing the trailing success or failure of the organization. Leading indicator it gives you predictability. So on a scorecard, you want to have a balance of both. So leads, if you are measuring leads, and then you know, for example, in a funnel, you have X leads that will convert to X prospects that will convert to X revenue. Now you've got, and that process will take 3 weeks. Now you've got a leading indicator of what revenue you might have in 3 weeks.
Right. Okay.
So the more leading indicators you can have on a scorecard, the healthier your scorecard is because it can look into the future.
Okay.
So you might say, hey, right now we're doing really well in revenue, but we generated a shitload less leads in the last couple of weeks than we have previously, which means that a month from now we might significantly drop our revenue, even though so far our financials have been climbing.
Yeah.
So perfect example of that, and something that you want to like track for yourself as you're putting together a scorecard. But then for you, like other metrics, maybe you have clients, right?
Yeah.
Do you measure client satisfaction anyway?
No, so we can definitely do that.
So you want to probably figure out whether it's on a monthly or weekly basis. Yeah, client satisfaction, whether it's subjective or ideally objectively asking, measuring, getting net promoter scores. Other pieces, definitely all the financials.
Mm-hmm.
Like put all of those on a scorecard so that you have more than just like, hey, well, how much money did we make and what did we do in numbers last month?
Right.
But kind of tracking weekly revenue so that you start to see ups and downs. And then it can also give you an idea of trends too.
Right.
Like typically in the third week of the month, because all our money comes in here, so it gives you an idea of how you may want to do your expenses too.
Okay.
So all of those are a good start. And then if you put it together, and this offer for everybody, if you guys want to paste your scorecards or scorecard templates into the Slack chat, we can all give each other feedback and review those.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I like that. At least, at the very least, it's like, come up with like key metrics, most important things.
Right.
Because I know for me, like, they're not what I thought they were. Since Kevin Molina gave me that spreadsheet on the rate of change, I spent so much more time focusing on the change and the ROI than like number of leads or number of sales. I'm focusing more on profitability, which has actually had quite a big impact on finding more potential for growth, because I can then search, okay, well, we look back at previous months and say, hey, all the leads from this month from this source had 1.5 times the lead value than anyone else, and it's because we can see like these spikes on the graph. We can identify them much easier, and it's much easier to grow when you know how to find them.
Yeah. Nice. Do you have a link to that spreadsheet somewhere? Template for it?
I don't have them all on a scorecard. I could show you. Well, in fact, I'll show you.
Or even whatever you got from Kevin, the rate of change thing.
The rate of change I don't have with me just yet, but I can show you. I can show you one. Well, actually, I do have it. I don't really want to share it.
Or rather, you ask Kevin for that whatever you got for a template.
Yeah, but I mean, I've taken it way further than Kevin had taken it. Like, it's unrecognizable from what he had of me. I will just share this with you though. If I can publish this chart quite easily. It's just from Google Sheets. So let me just click and get you the link. Because this shows you exactly what I was talking about. Because you can see where the leads. Come on, the leads go up, but the value goes down. And obviously it's a time thing. But hang on, VA. Internal. No. Image. There we go. Okay. Let me just open up the chat. I'm only sharing. Oh, crap. Talk amongst yourselves. Well, I'll just share this. Just in the chat here, you'll see. How much of that can you see? No, you can't see much. Yeah, if you open that up, you'll see the chart of the value of the leads over time, and then the number of the contacts. So we can look back and we can see, like one thing that stood out to me today when I was looking at it, we look at a dip in January of 2016. We see that we were making a lot less money per lead, but the sheer scale of it meant that we had one of the most profitable months. But then you look in like, okay, so I hired people to take it over for me in July. July, all the lead values are going up over time, and it's a case. Something like this is really good because I can say, okay, well, we know from 1 month that our leads are worth $1, and then we can see, okay, we can project this is how long we have until we need to make that money back. If we can last 3 months, we know that we're going to earn X amount from these leads if we've got the cash to spend it now. So just little things like this to keep track of, but I hope to be able to share all of this with you in a much more detailed version.
Cool. That would be awesome. Love that. Yeah, this is really helpful. I want to start doing some of this in my enterprise as well.
It's like a great thing about Excel is if you can dream it, it can probably be done. So I've created a spreadsheet where I copy and paste 2 data files, and it shows me the comparison between them. So we have like a dip and a spike, and we put them in, and it says, all right, well, leads came from here, or they spent this much, or they did this many orders, or whatever. Yeah, get someone on your team who's fucking good with Excel. I recommend that.
Yeah, this is pretty awesome.
Where is that posted?
Just in the chat.
Oh, this chat? Maybe it's because I'm on my phone. I can't see it.
Yeah.
And then checking question for you guys, Dan and Zion. Do you guys have scorecards in place?
I don't overall for the company. I track it on a per client basis, but not for kits. So this is something I'm going to be putting together.
Yep. And Zion, do you?
Yeah, we have scorecards for like different campaigns that we're running, but I guess not like an overall one. I've actually been working on that and been making my way through traction. I think that's the next chapter. Yeah, I'm on that chapter right now of it.
Nice. I think what do you guys think of as homework for you guys? Because for 3 of you guys, just for Dan and Zion, you guys have full company scorecards. Is to put in place a company scorecard before next meeting.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, feel free to post the drafts or the structure in the.
What's the general timeline for our next meeting?
Would we say sometime in the beginning of August, or we?
But yeah, beginning of August.
Yeah, it'll be sometime close to the beginning of August.
Because camp is like the 3rd week of August or something.
And then we'll
17th,
person meeting at camp that we'll just schedule specifically for you guys. And we'll hopefully get either Bombino or a few others in person there as well.
Bombino, love that guy.
Cool. So a few minutes left. I would love to jump into a little bit of meeting structure, and I'll kind of say I'll roughly go into what works for us. Again, largely based on the traction format, and then based on that, happy to give some feedback. And I've actually got to be off in 6 minutes because I've got another call that I got to prep for. But roughly we have meeting pulse. Important thing about having a meeting pulse, especially if you start to build a larger team, keeps everybody on the same page, and then having strong structure to those meetings, so they're not just these random, hey, let's meet up and talk about what's going on in the company. So we have a shared agenda every week, which is called our Level 10 meeting. Initially, this was very specifically on traction and has evolved for us into a specific thing where we check additional things like our operational metrics, which is kind of part of our scorecard. Check in on last week's to-do list to keep everybody accountable for meeting, a number of other things on there, and then the majority of the meeting is spent on IDS, which is tracking key issues, identify, discuss, and solve. We also do quarterly meetings, and every quarterly meeting for us has been, look at this camera. Every quarterly meeting for us has been like the significant jump for the company in terms of the level of structure that we have. So we started with an EOS assessment, kind of check where we're at. We're always a higher number than we were the last quarter. Now we're like 90 something, so we're at a point where we're making just fine tweaks to be even more systematic. We solve big issues, not like the smaller client issues that come up during IDS on a weekly basis. We solve larger core issues like, hey, is our design process the most efficient that it possibly can be? And then maybe we'll spend 20 minutes on that specific issue. Should this person be in the organization or not based on our evaluation of them? We do core values analysis of each person, so the people analyzer. So we do, in our case, green, yellow, red, or fraction is plus, plus, minus, or minus. And we evaluate basically every single person in the organization every quarter based on that. So happy to send you guys, Allie, if you want to just, would you mind just kind of sending maybe the structure of the last quarterly meeting, throwing it in Slack?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really do annuals. We just make one of our quarterlies every year a bit longer and more in depth, and that becomes our annual meeting. And then we do, James does one-on-one mentorship calls with each person in management. Allie and our other HR person, Austin, do one-on-one calls with various people on the team.
Is it every quarter?
Everyone in the Philippines, we do every other month. And they're about a half hour.
And then for U.S. management, once a month mentoring calls. I do 15 to 20-minute check-ins with project managers once a week. And that's kind of how I keep a pulse on everybody and support with feedback, coaching, client consulting, stuff like that. And those calls are less structured. Basically, the agenda for my 15-minute check-in calls with project managers is what's going on and how can I support you? It's like, what do I need to know and how can I support you? But that's more of my role, and then James is a lot more operational structured with them. So we do daily huddles. That's something we've implemented more recently.
Yeah, they do it Tuesday and Thursday, the daily huddles.
Yeah. So yes, twice a week huddles. Yeah.
And
then every Friday we do also another management check-in meeting based on what's being assigned to the team for the weekend and just keep information on there. And then we also do weekly. Now that we have a larger team, because our weekly level 10 meetings are just our core management team, we now do weekly design meetings and weekly development meetings as well, so everybody on the team is meeting. And then we try to do at least once a month. We don't always hit it, but to do full company meetings where we get everybody, the 20-plus people on a video call, and have everybody kind of do a check-in, and that's usually just me leading, explaining stuff, and answering questions. So that's kind of our meeting structure for things, and then we also have specific templates for client meetings where we try to follow a specific agenda when possible there as well. Dunlop left us.
He left a while ago.
Oh, I didn't notice. Any questions on that as far as like meeting pulse?
So I remember that you guys had a questionnaire that your team answered at the end of each week. Yep. Did this replace that, or what's the difference between the stress levels and stuff here versus there? That's still there. This is something that's both pulled from there, and we also check in because that's a bi-weekly. We check in with management on a weekly basis. At just the very beginning of each meeting. Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, so like our level 10 meetings are just management, so it's everyone in the U.S. and then we have our assistant from the Philippines on it as well, and then that's just our level 10.
Sweet. Okay.
That was a cool team.
Cool. So 11:30 on the dot. I gotta go. Let's say like 1 or 2 minutes. Any kind of like final questions or clarity before our next meeting?
I'm good. I'm clear, and I'll have everything, all those deliverables ready by Sunday and before the first meeting or for the next meeting.
Yeah.
So thanks for all the clarity. Appreciate it.
And I'll send out an email with all like reminders and stuff for it, and then for next doodle for August.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Sweet. Love it. All right, awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Been a really good call here, and we'll talk soon. Can't wait to see you guys in just about a month of camp.
Alrighty. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.